thank you for joining me again or for the first time during this live Metaphysical Sunday Service with myself, Reverend Diana Marie, and here on Transcending Ascension. Now, as you can hear, I have a cold. It's January. That line in spirit, the leading cause of death in the 1800s was January. And as you can hear, I have children. So it's, you can't escape getting sick in January when you have little kids. So here I am. Trying to do the best I can with this voice. So please bear with me as we discuss our past today. And it kind of brings in what we've been discussing and building up to with our Course in Miracles dive of changing our perceptions. It's what we keep talking about, is changing our perceptions, because to change your reality, it all comes down to changing your perceptions. So that is first and foremost what we're looking at doing when we go through the Course in Miracles, and really when we're doing any spiritual evolutionary work. We are aiming to change our perceptions, because everything in regards to manifestation and being a creator being of your own life, it's why I harp on it and repeat it, because I know what it was like in years and years and years of spiritual learning before finally realizing that you can do all the meditations you want and all the mantras and the yoga you want. But if this mind stays thinking the same way, like the meditations and the yoga might help you feel calmer and things like that. But if you're not changing your perceptions, then you're not changing your reality. So first and foremost, we need to focus on changing our perceptions. So today, the lesson is going to take us to fully explaining why we've been doing the silly, this door is not what I think it is, and things like that, because it's trying to paint this picture. It finally touches on today, day 7, that you're perceiving your reality out of the past. Now, if anyone's read The Power of Now, which I feel like most people in the spiritual world have read The Power of Now, it's basically conveying that message outright, that you have to be in the now, or else you're stuck in the past, just, you know what it feels like, or you're worrying about the future. So, and there's very little space to live in the now. But when we start to just completely disintegrate our previous perceptions, we now find that we can create a new self and new ways of perceiving the world, because we still do operate basically off a matrix-like system that we create, but you can make it as optimal as possible. And that's learning to create perceptions that basically work and operate in a now like space. But this is first focusing on disintegrating all of your old past perceptions. Okay, so let's get started here with that today. Lesson 7. I see only the past. This idea is particularly difficult to believe at first, yet it is the rationale for all of the preceding ones. It is the reason why nothing that you see means anything. It is the reason why you have given everything you see all the meaning that it has for you. It is the reason why you do not understand anything you see. It is the reason why your thoughts do not mean anything and why they are like the things you see. It is the reason why you are never upset for the reasons you think. It is the reason why you are upset because you see something that is not there. And as you see, that's all the old ideas we've already been through. It's telling you right here that this is the reason. Old ideas about time are very difficult to change, because everything you believe is rooted in time and depends on your not learning these new ideas about it. Yet that is precisely why you need new ideas about time. This first time idea is not really so strange as it may sound at first. Look at a cup, for example. Do you see a cup, or are you merely reviewing past experience of picking up a cup, being thirsty, drinking from a cup, feeling the rim of a cup against your lips, having breakfast, and so on? Are not your aesthetic reactions to the cup too based on past experiences? How else would you know whether or not this kind of cup will break if you drop it? What do you know about this cup except that you learned in the past, except what you learned in the past? You would have no idea what this cup is except for your past learning. Do you then really see it? Look up about you. This is equally true of whatever you look at. Acknowledge this by applying the idea for today indiscriminately to whatever catches your eye. For example, I see only the past in this pencil. I see only the past in this shoe. I see only the past in this hand. I see only the past in that body. I see only the past in that face. Do not linger over any one thing in particular, but remember to omit nothing specifically. Glance briefly at each object and then move on to the next. And they're always pointing that out because they don't want to make it, it doesn't, they're basically saying nothing has any more or less importance than anything else, which transurfing has huge lessons on importance and dropping importance from everything to actually make being the creator being in your own reality, which is what I'm all about. If you're in my channel, if you ever hear me mentioning anything, know that the reason why I repost anything or post anything myself is to get you to learn how to change your own reality, how to be the creator being in your own reality. So even if you love your life, you don't want to change it, we're still going to learn to be that creator being, to ensure that what you created stays, or to ensure what you like stays, and so on and so forth. But we need to learn to not give it any overdue importance. And this is hard, especially if you have children, to find that space of allowing, which I talk about a lot too. The space of allowing is, it goes beyond, okay, so a lot of us have trouble with forgiveness. I did too. I struggled big time once upon a time when I was in my own not like I was in this online I call it a cult now. She's even more famous now, but I was in with her when she was relatively new, only about 20,000 or less followers, and I thought she was really, really wise. But she was in this regard, that she's the one who taught me forgiveness is allowing. Forgiveness is allowing. And oh my goodness, if I took nothing else from her information, that right there would like hit, when sometimes you hear information and it comes from the higher self and you just know in the deep depths of knowing that this is what it is. Because before that, all the learning of forgiveness and Jesus's big message is forgiveness. It's like, yeah, but I can't. And I want to, but I can't. And I spend so much time trying and sorry, I'm sick if you can't tell. I was trying and doing all these, activities and meditations and, the workshops that you do to forgive, try to forgive, right? And it just doesn't happen. Well, what forgiveness actually is on an energetic level, to actually have it happen, is allowing. And this space of allowing, which is how I refer to it now, space of allowing, can be used in many different regards. And this also comes into importance where we started. So the book says, don't give anything any undue importance, because you need to allow the process to happen naturally. And that's not giving importance. Transurfing talks about not giving importance to anything, because once one thing has undue importance, it unbalances everything. So you start, well, it unbalances that issue, but it will have a trickle down effect. Like, if you can imagine the energy rays and vibrations that come off us, they have their own visceral living. They are real. Like, this isn't just imaginary when we imagine our vibrational waves or our energy matrices and all such things. They are very, very real. And in a different reality, in a different realm, they exist. And we all know certain people see auras and there's aura cameras. That's just a taste. Really, I love this image. You are a flowing, tentacled being etherically. So when we go into unbalance for any reason, including undue importance, you're going to tangle up the webs, right? And you're just not going to get what you intend. And a lot of people work really, really hard at manifesting and then find it never happens the way they want it to, or happens at all. And these are the reasons why. It's not because you're not doing the work, but there's all these background issues that we just don't consider when we are manifesting. And that's things like allowing, that's things like not giving too much importance, and the two go hand in hand. So not so ways to not give something too much importance is to allow it. So let's say you tripped and fell down the stairs, like you could really give that a lot of importance, right? You could give it a mind story, as Eckhart Tolle would say. You could really spiral off this, right? Especially if you were hurt. But the truth is you have to get up and dust yourself off and act no different than if you were just walking normally. And this is where, and I talk about this a lot too, is allowing sadness. And that's another place we can use allowing. So we allow the sadness from that. And because energy, or sorry, well, it is energy, but emotions, they are little information blocks, essentially. Like they are information streams also flowing in that same etheric world, flowing in the wind of that etheric world, and they'll come through us. So you can use this whether you fell down the stairs, or you can use this anytime, because sometimes you could be sitting there doing nothing wrong or walking or whatever, and you just and you feel awful, and we'll pull up a past perception, we'll pull up a past memory, we'll give it a mind story of why we're feeling sad or anxious or whatever the feeling may be. But the truth is you can learn to allow that emotion, allow that feeling, and it will flow through you with ease. And the same goes if you fell down the stairs and you're extremely hurt. You can allow yourself to be upset about that and let it move on. And then depending on how hurt you are is depending on how much you need to continuously allow it. And when we allow things, I used to just talk about the heart spark until, like, I love correlations because they keep coming more en masse nowadays for me, and a lot of other people are reporting the same. But the heart spark and allowing are within the same, like that heart chakra space goes beyond what a chakra is. And a lot of us have already learned that the heart chakra is one of the most important ones. I did an entire workshop on it back when I used to do workshops, and it was very well received. And it was fully on that heart centered space of taking it beyond what a heart chakra is. And because it's this whole energy generator that we can use. And so your space of allowing, when you're feeling into it, I'll leave aside all the many things the heart space can do to you, for you, and to you. And just know that when you're allowing, it's in that space. Like when you take a deep breath, and you're deep breathing through the nose, out through the mouth is best, but however your deep breathing is, at least in through the nose, you're going to notice this starts to tingle and tickle and activate, because that's getting it going. So this, if you're not familiar with allowing, is how you can start to allow your allowing is deep breathing through the nose. And that's one of the first things to do when I first started my actual spiritual work, because I've said this many times, but a lot of us, when we get started, we start in the conspiratory world, and then we can even know about spirit, but it doesn't come home until you're doing the work. And I had tried doing the work, but nothing ever stuck. It wasn't until I was like, no, deep breathe through the nose. So for every moment, in every moment of anxiety, I used to be very anxiety ridden. Now that doesn't even exist anymore. Sorry, I shouldn't say it doesn't exist anymore. It does not play an effect in how I act, because and that actually comes up in the heart space as well, anxiety. So it's not like this is all going to be a love space. You can get fear in there as well. But what are you going to do? You're going to breathe through it, and that's going to filter it, because this has a filtration system, and it does so many things when you work within it that are for your betterment. So you can keep it going and learn the difference between anxiety. I think we all know it. It pinches. It's like someone's in there pinching and twisting. It's like not excruciating, but it is more on like the pain side of thing, versus allowing is like opening. You're feeling it open. You're feeling it. If you guys used to watch when I had my thing that was like a tight ball, and you open, because there's a difference. You're always the same, but you can be tightly squeezed, or you can open and allow. And what does allowing do? If we went from being tightly squeezed to allowing, what's happening? Flow is happening. So those emotions, those thoughts, those mind stories can flow through you in a space of allowing. And this is where you also bring in compassion for the self. So because we can also have a tendency to judge others, but also extremely judge ourselves. So let's say you fell down the stairs and you're extremely hurt, And not only are you hurt and mind stories begin to happen, but then you start judging yourself because you're spiritual, you know better. You should be able to rock this. You shouldn't even feel pain because you're spiritual. I shouldn't even be sick because I'm spiritual, right? No, because everybody has their own things they're going through. If you're top level, because this doesn't mean, if you're top level in this life, it doesn't mean you necessarily did any better in this life. It just means your soul was already set up for it to be better. And there is something to be said for all of those painful star seeds, empathic types that had a sad upbringing or a stressful past in a lot of different ways, because it could be stressful childhood, but then you took that and you brought it into your adulthood and you made it even worse possibly for yourself because of the tangles, because of how judgmentally nasty we can be to ourselves. Well, that can keep going into spirituality, and you could be really, really hard on yourself. So allowing compassion into the mind stories helps that flow just continue. And then, fun fact here, if you also get sick or have things happen, I'll lay out some reasons for you because you can fix it. Not necessarily you can fix it or you can allow. So, one is you're hanging around with people that are giving you negative vibes. They're sending you negative information, and the only time somebody can hurt you with their negativity is if you allow it. So if they're your friend or your family member and you have an active relationship with them, you are allowing them to get you. You're going to have to, if you want to stay knowing them, you're going to have to do some energetic work, pretty much magic, to kind of circumvent the pull they have on you. And people talk a lot about cord cutting, and that's something I did very early awakening, was trying really hard to cut all the cords. I did all this scissor imagining. I did all the different variations you can do to cord cut. I used to worry about shielding and all that stuff. Oh, the empath has to shield. No, all that's just going to hold you back. Cord cutting is not permanent. So even if you got somebody, even if you're skilled at it or somebody else is skilled at it and you did cord cutting, it's going to come back. Guess what you really do to permanently cut a cord? You cut perceptions. You change perceptions. You change the way you think, which is why this book is what truly changed my life to be a positive spiritual being, to be on this path now where I started teaching after I read it. And I started, I don't know, I just started actually enlightening. And it's an enlightening, it's not like an instant enlightenment, it's an enlightening. And it's been years and years thanks to this book, because the truth is, all these problems, anything we have, when we change our perceptions, most of the time it will completely remove the problem, or it will at least allow you to go through it in an allowed space, in an open space, in an enlightened space. So you're seeing it from a higher perspective. So where would this come into with our life and knowing other people? And especially, it's hard, and I know what it's like. I did distance myself from my parents, and my mom did pass young, and I have to question myself sometimes if I did the right thing. But the truth is if people are extremely holding you back and they refuse to see the change in you, and they refuse to see that you are a new and better person, if they try to still act like, because they're stuck in their perceptions, right? They're still tightly wound in their perceptions. And then what's going to happen? They're going to be filled with negative entities because of this. And you've worked very hard to get rid of your negative entities. So what's that mean? You're going to be constantly getting re-affected, infected, affected, all of it. You're going to just be constantly shot. And same thing if it's not even hanging out with them, but you're constantly thinking about them. You're constantly being reminded of the things they did to you, or the way they still treat you, or how your relationship is. This is the same thing as being with them, because this comes into, there's no such thing as time and space. Well, when there's no such thing as time and space, that means you thinking of the past is connecting directly to the past. So whatever the past trauma is, or whatever anything is, when you connect to it, you're going to pull that back in. So we don't want to do that. We want to get in the space of living in the now. But The Power of Now was a book I read early awakening. And honestly, on its own, it's fantastic. It did push me to another layer. It did push me pretty far, so I should actually give it more credit. But I didn't fully grasp it. I did understand it, but let's just say it's a book that has layers. It is a book that has so many layers that you can just see it. more and more and more and understand, like when you start actually getting into the quantum learning and learning how quantum physics works, this is where you're like, oh, okay, because like the power of now, if someone wanted to take the power of now and mix it with quantum physics, which that's why I love the power, or sorry, the physics of consciousness, because it does that. The physics of consciousness takes quantum physics and perfectly matches it with spirit, which I'm doing an audiobook on that. One of the parts just came out this morning. I'm up to part 15. I'm almost done the book. I'm trying. But as you can hear, someone's crying right now. He's with daddy, but they always want the mummy. It's got to be the mummy. So I'm going to have to go. But we've already done 20 minutes, so hopefully this has been enough. Because remember, we're here to remind you, you are God first and foremost. You are divine. But we can know these things. We can know we're God. We can know we're divine. We can know we're part of Creator. We can know the all of the all. But the fine tuning of how we actually do this in a real life, of having children, of having jobs, of living in the real world. Because early awakening, I thought like the only answer was running off into the forest and just playing some drums, and that's how you were peace and light. But no. And it's actually more boss level, I would think. Maybe I'm biased, to be able to be peace and love regardless, to walk around, to fall down the stairs and still be peace and love. And then how we do this is where the finer details come in. And that's where I try to touch upon, because I'm the kind of person that you like, I'm very, analytical. So if somebody tells me something, I don't just automatically believe them. I need to actually experience it, and I need to experience it almost in my own perceived way. And that's with that space of allowing that, like, I fully began to understand. But as you can see, the crying is getting worse. So I will let you all go. Remember you are God. Remember you are divinely loved. Happy Sunday to you all. Goodbye for now. Transcending Ascension.